Hey, good afternoon. My name is Michael Lints, and I'm a partner at Golden Gate Ventures. I want to talk you through our company, but more so, I want to talk you through what is happening and how you, as a startup and as an investor, are able to leverage that ecosystem and the growing potential. I'm going to share my screen with you and make sure that you're able to see a presentation that'll be helpful whenever you think of expanding or investing in Southeast Asia. So Southeast Asia is a growing ecosystem of several countries. For a massive population of approximately 40 million people, a growing middle class that is assumed to be 65% by 2030. What you'll see in countries like, for instance, Vietnam or Indonesia, that the population is not only young, but very active when it comes to the startup ecosystem and their activity as and entrepreneurs. One of the most important developments, macro, is of course, where are these different countries in terms of their GDP? But maybe once you know how Southeast Asia has developed, it's also a very difficult country to navigate, or a difficult region to navigate. There are several countries. There are a number of what we call all have different languages, different currencies, different regulations, and different environments for startups. The good thing about having such a diverse ecosystem is that you're in different markets and actually build a company that has a competitive advantage over other companies that come to the market. For instance, if you look at Vietnam, where we've seen a significant growth of large. So one good example is Apple, that decided to put part of their manufacturing, besides China, also in Vietnam. If you look at Nintendo, that also decided to put part of theirs as well. Singapore has been a hub for the region for years and has put more capital and effort behind building and expanding the tech startup ecosystem. So whether you co-invest with different parties, whether you are a founder looking for grants, partnerships, universities to work with, Singapore has proven to be a very important hub for the region. A country with more than 250 million people, growing GDP, a huge middle class in 2030. That is a significant potential for the next few years. So if you to build a more than $1 billion company in just one single market, let alone if you're able to expand your company or expand your footprint across multiple countries in the region. A very important part of Southeast Asia is the consumer base. They're very active on platforms such as social media. They're very active when it comes to e-commerce. If you look at companies' commerce potentials like Instagram, that has been able to make purchasing items through their platform, Indonesia is one of their bigger markets in terms of growth and in terms of potential. But we have a lot of companies like Tokopedia, Bukalapak. But if you look at regional companies like Lazada, that has a major investment from Alibaba and expanded across the region. But also on the logistics sides, companies like Ninja Van or EcoTruck have been able to the consumers purchase goods, but also receive goods the moment they've ordered. But then there's more potential. If you look at companies in the payment space, which is a very important part of e-commerce, but with rising more other opportunities and industries pop up as well. One, for instance, is healthcare. Within healthcare, we're seeing more and more companies that have now started and launched business to consumers like HelloDoc or AlloDoctor, or companies like CXA that all play in the healthcare space and have a prominent place in this ecosystem. Education is another opportunity where we're seeing more company opportunity of a large online consumer base and more people getting accustomed to using technology. And the good part is Southeast Asia allows you to leapfrog technologies. People are so used to using and work mobile applications and mobile opportunities from day one. A short introduction about our fund. So Golden Gate Ventures is a Singapore-based venture capital, 50 companies across the region. But we've also invested in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea. We're always open to look at opportunities for companies that are looking to expand to Southeast Asia as well. A few of our companies like Carousel, Ninja Van, but also Caro, Ritase, and Funding Societies. We work with a large group of institutional investors across the region and across the globe, with companies like Naver and Hanwha. Out of Japan, we work with Mitsui Fudosan and also Mitsubishi. Those corporate relationships allow us to help our portfolio work with large corporations, their expertise. So from a founder's perspective, what is so interesting about this region and what is happening? So if you look across the board, and I mentioned eco, we're seeing a large number of companies that have been able to expand across the region over the last few years. The good thing is that these companies are not only catering to a certain demographic or consumers, they're also for you as well. So as a founder, you don't have to go about it alone. You're able to work with several companies across different industries to expand and build your business. So whether it's commercial partnerships, it has an abundance of companies that you can cooperate with. And also from an investor perspective, it is very interesting to look at this space and say, hey, I can actually invest from seed all the way up to company, a very diverse and dynamic and open ecosystem. The biggest concern is always, with all these companies, where will this eventually go? Is there a big market for public offerings, for IPOs or acquisitions? Historically, we've seen that corporations have acquired startups to expand their core business, to add a new product, or to add expertise. In the future, we do think that IP plays a significant role, but it will play a role in how companies will exit across the region. I think Hong Kong is showing more and more of a prominent place where companies from this region will look to list over the next few years. So I talked about a growing consumer base. And what is interesting is how dynamic digital commerce has become in Southeast Asia. If you look at how the consumer base grew, it grew by 50%, and it now totals over 200 million people across Asian top 6 economies. So if you look at a dedicated consumer base that you can target for users are already on the internet, they are already on mobile. And even in remote places in Indonesia, you're able to cater to these consumers. In markets like the Philippines, you can cater to these consumers. So when expand, whether it's a fintech company or whether it's an e-commerce company or in the healthcare or a lifestyle company or entertainment, you're able to reach your consumer base relatively fast because of the mobile adoption across graphic, being used to using technology. Another important point is there actually purchasing power? So there is a big and important number you should keep in mind. $1,000 threshold that you need to cross to have a sustainable group of what we call middle income. And this middle income has disposable income to invest or to purchase. In Southeast Asia, reaching that tipping point. Why is that important? If you look at companies or consumers that are, for instance, looking to travel, or if you look at consumers that are looking to purchase, or you'll need to get beyond that threshold. So basically, all the indication is that as of 2023, most companies or most countries in the region will be at that $10,000 US dollar. Important metric to understand if you are catering to a large consumer platform in the region. how are companies developing and how are companies developed across Southeast Asia? Even if you look at it from a staffing or team size perspective, we're now seeing more and more companies that have grown out of the attic and have now decided to hire significant staff. So the larger than 50 people is significantly growing across the region. Those companies would typically be at what we call the Series B stage. So this is another opportunity. If you look at collaborating with these companies, you have a large base that you can work with. This allows you to do more business development with the likes of companies that are in different industries, whether it's entertainment or education or even fintech. Also, it also shows that and also churning out more and more talent. As these teams grow, some people will go on to build their own company, or some people would move on to eventually work for another company. And that you need to build and sustain your company will be available as well. That's another important part of a very fast maturing ecosystem. Diversification is very interesting. More and more companies are looking to not only focus on one market, like for instance Indonesia or Vietnam, but they're growing beyond multiple markets. And this is where you build your competitive advantage. And it makes sense to look at the region as a region and don't see it as a single country. If you are expanding from one country to another, it gives you the ability to build competitive edge or partner with a large corporation or even build out any platform. You can rethink your product from the same company, but you'll say in Indonesia, our product works differently than, for instance, this will give you a tremendous amount of competitive advantage when looking at these markets. And even the timeline going from being a Series B company to actually shorter, or at least it's about the same as US and China. So even if you look at expanding your company, there is a large number of investors that are around and available to invest in your business. And I think this is of the diversity of the region. We have a lot of homegrown investors like our own firm, but you also have a lot of investors that are coming from other places like the US, like Israel, that are investing in this region. They're bringing a vast majority and a vast to the Southeast Asian market as well. So if you look at it from a founder's perspective, you have the ability to work with corporations, work with other startups, but also a large amount of capital available to you, not only at the early seed or even Series A stage, but at Series B and beyond. You'll find plenty of capital looking to invest and take on startups. I really hope that this presentation has helped opportunity to expand or work in Southeast Asia as a business. It makes a lot of sense from a founder's perspective, and it makes a lot of sense from an investment perspective as well. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much for listening to NextRise. My name is Michael Lints. If I can be helpful in your expansion plans, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.